The voicemail was 11 seconds long. I played it 3 times. My mother's voice. Calm. Almost pleasant. You're not welcome at Christmas this year. Not until you apologize. You know what you did. I didn't move for a while after that. I sat at my kitchen table with my coffee going cold and I thought about the word apologize. What it meant. What I was supposed to have done. I couldn't think of anything. That's when I realized something was very wrong. My name doesn't matter. What matters is that for 34 years, I was the reliable one. I was the child who answered the phone. Who drove 4 hours when someone needed help moving. Who sent birthday cards on time. Who remembered anniversaries. Who showed up. I had a job I was good at. A small apartment I paid for myself. No debt. A savings account I'd built carefully over 8 years. My parents knew about that savings account. They'd always known. I made the mistake of mentioning it once, maybe 5 years ago, at a family dinner, and after that it became a kind of open fact, something referenced casually. Oh, you can afford it. You're doing well. It wouldn't hurt you. I didn't think much of it then. I started noticing things the summer before that Christmas. Small things. My mother began calling more often, but the calls felt different. Less catching up, more inventory. How was work? Any changes? Still at the same company? I answered honestly. I always had. My father sent a text in August asking if I'd looked into putting family members on my health insurance plan. I was single. My plan didn't cover parents. I said that. He didn't respond. In September, my younger brother called, which he almost never did, to mention, almost in passing, that my parents had told him I was doing really well financially. He said it in a tone that made me pause. Careful. Testing something. I asked what they'd said exactly. He got vague. Changed the subject. I mentioned it to my partner. She said I was probably reading into things. She said families talk. She said I was sensitive about money because of how I grew up. She wasn't wrong about how I grew up. But she was wrong about this. I started paying attention. I reread old text threads. I looked at the timing of requests, when they came, what was happening in my parents' lives at the time. A dental bill. A car repair. A vacation they took and mentioned only after returning. There was a pattern. Subtle. But consistent. Every time there was a financial pressure in my parents' household, contact with me increased. Warmth increased. References to my stability increased. And then, usually within 2 to 3 weeks, a request would surface. Framed as temporary. Framed as family. Framed as you can afford it. I had given money 8 times in 4 years. I had a folder on my laptop. I made it that October. I put every receipt, every transfer, every text message in it. The folder was already 12 pages long. None of it had ever been paid back. I didn't say anything. I didn't confront anyone. I didn't change my behavior. So I stopped reacting. And I started watching. November arrived and the calls got warmer. My mother asked how I was eating. My father sent an article about a hiking trail he thought I'd like. My brother texted a photo from 10 years ago, the 2 of us at a beach, laughing, with no caption. Just the photo. I recognized it immediately. The warmth before the ask. I waited. The ask came on a Tuesday evening. My mother called. We talked about the weather, about her garden, about a neighbor's dog. Then, after about 12 minutes, Her voice shifted slightly, not dramatically, just softer, and she said they were in a difficult spot. My father's business had slowed down. There were some debts they hadn't mentioned. Christmas was coming and they didn't want it to feel small, especially with the grandchildren visiting. She mentioned a number. $3,200. She said they'd pay it back in the spring. I told her I needed to think about it. She said she understood. She was kind about it. She always was. I didn't sleep well that night. Not because I was angry. I wasn't, not exactly, but because I already knew what I was going to find. And finding it would make it real. I spent the following weekend going through bank records I'd requested from previous years. I cross-referenced dates of transfers with dates of contact. I pulled my old email archive. I found 3 separate occasions where money I'd transferred had been followed, within days, by purchases that had nothing to do with any emergency. A cruise deposit. A new television. A patio set. I found a conversation, forwarded to me by mistake, years ago, from my brother, where my mother referred to me as the backup plan. I had dismissed it at the time. I thought it was a joke. I filed it away, and told myself I was being uncharitable. I read it again. It wasn't a joke. Then I found something else. In a box of documents I'd stored, old cards, letters, papers from when I was helping my parents organize their house a few years earlier, I found a printed email thread. My parents had given me the box themselves. They must have forgotten it was in there. The thread was between my mother and my father's sister. My aunt. It was dated roughly 6 years ago. In it, my mother described a plan. That's the only word for it, a plan. She wrote about keeping me close. About the importance of me feeling needed. About how my financial discipline could be a resource for the family. She wrote that I was too independent-minded, and that it was important I stay emotionally tied to the family unit. She used the phrase soft obligation. I read it twice. I photographed it. I scanned it. I saved it in 4 separate places. I kept my face still. I sat with it for a long time. I thought about 34 years. I thought about the drives. The cards. The money. The way I had always felt, at Christmas especially, like I was performing adequacy, like no matter what I brought to the table, there was a quiet calculation happening underneath. I thought about the voicemail. Not welcome until you apologize. I understood now what the ban was really about. I hadn't given them the $3,200 yet. I had paused. And the pause had been treated as a betrayal. I almost picked up the phone. I didn't. Confronting them would have ruined everything. The first thing I did was make copies. Not just digital. Physical. I printed everything, the bank records, the email thread, the transfer history, the text messages, the voicemail transcript, and I put 2 copies in 2 different locations. One with a friend I trusted. One in a safety deposit box I opened at a bank branch I didn't normally use. I told no one in my family what I was doing. The second thing I did was make a call. I'd met a family law attorney twice before through work. Not a close contact, but a professional one. I sent her an email on a Wednesday morning. Factual. No emotional language. I laid out what I had and asked for 30 minutes. She gave me an hour. She reviewed the documents. She asked clarifying questions. She didn't editorialize, which I respected. At the end she told me that while there was no clean criminal angle, giving money to family, even under manipulative circumstances, is difficult to litigate. What I had was something more useful in a different way. Documentation. A clear, Time-stamped record of a pattern. She said the most powerful thing I could do wasn't legal action. It was controlled withdrawal. Strategic, calm, and complete. She helped me draft 2 letters that afternoon. The first was to my parents. Formal. Calm. It acknowledged the voicemail. It stated that I would not be apologizing, because I had not done anything that warranted an apology. It stated that effective immediately, I would no longer be providing financial support of any kind. It listed, matter-of-factly, every transfer I had made over the past 4 years, with dates and amounts. It totaled just over $19,000. It did not ask for repayment. It simply named what had happened. The second letter was shorter. It was to my brother. Not accusatory. It told him that I was stepping back from the family financially and emotionally for a period of time, and that I wished him well. I included a single line referencing the forwarded email from years ago, the one where I was called the backup plan. I didn't explain. I just included it. I sent both letters by certified mail on a Friday. I also sent my mother a single text message that same afternoon. It said, "I got your voicemail. I've been thinking about it carefully. You'll receive a letter in a few days. I hope you read it fully." She replied within 4 minutes. "What letter? What are you talking about? Can you just call me?" I didn't respond. Then I waited. I went to work on Monday. I cooked dinner. I went to the gym. I called my attorney once more to confirm she had a copy of everything on file. She did. My parents called 7 times that week. My brother called twice. My aunt, the one from the email thread, called once from a number I almost didn't recognize. I let all of it go to voicemail. I read every message. I saved every one. They were confused at first. Then worried. Then, by Thursday, angry. My mother left a voicemail saying I was being cruel. My father left one saying I was making things up. My brother texted asking why I was doing this to the family. To the family. I noted the phrasing. The letters arrived on Friday. I knew because the certified mail system sent me confirmation of delivery. Within 2 hours, my mother called 11 times. I didn't answer. I made dinner. I watched something quiet on television. I went to bed at a reasonable hour. They thought it was just another day. It wasn't. I chose a Sunday. Not for drama. Sundays were when my parents were home, unhurried, and unlikely to be able to reach anyone official for backup or advice. I wanted the conversation to happen on clear ground. My attorney had advised me not to meet alone. I asked my partner, who had, by then, read everything, if she would come. She said yes without hesitating. We drove to my parents' house in the morning. My mother answered the door. She looked like she hadn't been sleeping well. She looked at me and then at my partner and then back at me, and she started to say something sharp, but I spoke first. I said, "I'm not here to argue. I'm here to have one conversation." We sat at the kitchen table. My father came in from the other room. He sat down slowly. Neither of them spoke at first. I had a folder with me. I put it on the table. I didn't open it. I told them that I loved them. I meant it. I said that love and accountability were not opposites. I said that what I had discovered, and documented, over the past several months had changed things, and that the change was permanent. I said the word documented clearly. I watched my father's expression. He started to speak. I let him finish. He said I was misremembering. That the money was different. That families help each other. That I was twisting things. I opened the folder. I slid one page toward him. The transfer summary. Dates. Amounts. Total. He stopped speaking. My mother looked at the page. Something shifted in her face, not guilt exactly, but recognition. The recognition of someone who had believed, for a long time, that a certain thing would never be named out loud. I told them I wasn't there to take anything from them. I wasn't filing anything. I wasn't calling anyone that day. But I wanted them to understand, clearly, with no ambiguity, that the arrangement was over. That I had copies of everything with a third party. That any attempt to pressure, guilt, or reframe this to other family members would result in those documents being shared with the people in question. My father said I was being dramatic. I said, I have $19,000 of receipts that say I'm not. The room was quiet for a while. My mother asked, quietly, if we could still have a relationship. I told her that was up to them. Not to me. We didn't stay long after that. On the drive home, my partner and I didn't talk much. She held my hand for part of the drive. That was enough. I had already redirected 3 automatic transfers that I'd been making into a shared account, money that had been quietly funneled toward family expenses that I'd never fully questioned. I moved it into my own savings instead. I sent a brief message to my extended family, aunts, cousins, before anyone else could shape the narrative. No accusations. Just facts. I told them I'd had to create some distance for my own well-being. I kept it short. A few people responded with kindness. A few didn't respond at all. My brother called 3 days later. The conversation was different from what I expected. He was quieter. He said he'd read the letter twice. He said he didn't know what to do with it. I told him I wasn't asking him to do anything. I told him the door was open between us. He said he'd think about it. I told him that was fine. In the months that followed, I put the money I'd saved into a small investment account. Nothing dramatic. Just mine. My parents sent a card in February. No real acknowledgement. Just a card with my name on it, a generic printed message, and my mother's signature. I put it in the folder with everything else. Not out of bitterness. Just for the record. The Christmas I spent that year was the quietest I'd had in a long time. I made a meal I actually wanted. I sat in my own space. I didn't perform anything for anyone. I didn't feel like I had won something. I felt like I had stopped losing. That night, everything was quiet.